You boys be quiet down there!
Quiz City, the crime-ridden city ruled by quizzes. In this city, two detectives will rise up to solve these crimes, or be swept into them. Neo McDonald and Geo Kentucky. Such is the plot of Quiz Daisousasen, The Last Countdown, NGH-023, released in 1991 by SNK. Like all Neo Geo quiz games, Quiz Daisousasen was never released in English. So, did Western fans miss out on a gem of a game here? Let's play it and find out. Quiz Daisousasen was produced by SNK founder Eikichi Kawasaki. It was directed by Masanori Kuwasashi of King of Fighters fame. The assistant director was Tomoaki Fukui of Samurai Shodown. The controls are simple. Use the joystick to select modes and panels when presented with them, and use the 4 trigger buttons to select between the 4 answers to each question, A, B, C, and D. Start the game, and you immediately have 2 options here, Story Mode and Sugaroku Mode, or Board Game Mode. If you select Story Mode, you have the option to choose between 2 scenarios, or clients, a young woman or a man. Select the woman, and she immediately gives you the simple plot setup for her scenario.
My name is Chris. I lost my dog while walking him in the park. Please find him.
Leave it to us. As soon as they go to the park in question, they immediately meet a man who says he saw the dog. A dog? Yeah, I saw a dog, but if you want any information, you must first answer me these questions 3. Here we go. Before the questions, you pick a card, A, B, C, or D. This determines what bonus you'll get for this round of questions. Here we got Life Increase, which increases the number of times we can answer incorrectly before continuing by 1. Okay, so for those of you playing along at home, get ready. It's question time. Which of these 4 ingredients are used in bread making? A. Cake flour. B. Human power flour. C. All-purpose strength flour. Or D. Bread flour. In the actual game, you get much less time than this to answer. The correct answer is bread flour. Okay, next question. Which one of these 4 American comic heroes was made into a live-action version in Japan? A. Batman. B. Spider-Man. C. Supergirl. D. Superman. The correct answer? Spider-Man. Last question. In the Japanese folk song, When I Become a First Grader, how many friends does the singer hope to make? If you don't know this Japanese folk song, then you probably don't know. But the correct answer is D, 100.
Okay, you guys are pretty good. I'll tell you what I know. Here's the dog you've been looking for.
Wow, what a dog. That was pretty easy. Let's take him back to his owner.
Ha ha ha, good to see you guys again. That meal they treated me to last time at the police station was pretty good. I have a present for you. This is my new invention, the up-down quiz. When you get a question right, the crane will take you up a level. Get one wrong and you go down a level. Go up 5 levels and you win. Oh yeah, but you're gonna want to watch out for what's in the water below.
Are those sharks with laser beams attached to their heads?
So anyway, you answer the questions. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, up, down, up, down, up, down. This can easily be the most difficult part of the whole game, because it's the only part that requires you to get a certain ratio of questions right before allowing you to proceed.
Ha ha ha, that was fun. I'll let you guys go, but you won't be so lucky next time.
Neo and Geo go to Chris's house, but the inside has been trashed and she is nowhere to be found. They find a video message from her father saying he'll be in Hong Kong on business for a while and asking her to take care of the house while he's gone. Just then, a masked man appears and tells them they need to answer 5 questions if they want to know where Chris is. Beat him, and he tells Neo and Geo that she has been taken captive by their organization, and he runs away. The cops show up, and Neo and Geo are framed for breaking and entering and taken to jail. But luckily for them, the lock on their cell is a quiz lock, and they get right to work on opening it. The quiz lock features a Jeopardy-style questions grid consisting of 4 categories and 4 different point values for each category. They need to get 8 points to unlock it. The categories shown here are movies, miscellaneous, sports, and literature/history. If playing with 2 players, they take turns choosing questions. Okay, for those of you playing at home, here's a question from movies. Which of these Shakespeare plays served as the basis for Akira Kurosawa's movie Ron? A. King Lear, B. Hamlet, C. Othello, or D. Macbeth? If you answered A. King Lear, then you are correct. After earning 8 points from the questions and escaping from jail, Neo and Geo don't know what to do, so they pay a visit to one of their usual informants.
Marty! You've got to come back with me!
The informant asks for his usual payment for his services. What do you think the payment is? It's the correct answers to his quiz questions, of course. In Quiz City, quiz answers are more valuable than gold. After answering the questions, Doc, the informant, says he knows a man who is familiar with the organization who kidnapped Chris. He's being held in Alcaraz prison, but that's not a problem since he plans to break out tonight. Guess the prison must use quiz locks too. They meet him as he is breaking out and ask him about the quiz mafia that is holding Chris. After they answer his questions, he tells them that their base is in Hong Kong. As a show of gratitude, they agree to not report his escape to the police. Neo and Geo are caught for speeding. Luckily, if you get caught speeding in Quiz City, there's one way you can avoid getting ticketed. Answer quiz questions. This round works a little differently. You have to press the button for the correct answer rapidly in order to fill up a power gauge and answer the question. Neo and Geo go to the airport, but are unable to buy a ticket to Hong Kong. Luckily, a shady man agrees to give them tickets in exchange for answering questions. Here we select card B, which luckily turns out to be a card which allows us to select the category for the questions. Here are some questions from the anime category. In the anime Mazinger Z, what material is the robot Mazinger Z made from? A. Stainless steel, B. Tin, C. Superalloy Z, or D. Muteron? Muteron is the energy that is used by the robot in the anime Brave Raideen. In the anime Fist of the North Star, what is the character Rao's alternative name? A. Gino, B. Keno, C. Ganrikyo, D. Kaio. If you answered B. Keno, then you are correct. In the anime Dirty Pair, what is the name of the space cat that Kei and Yuri keep as a pet? A. Mugi, B. Tama, C. Awa, D. Kome. The correct answer is A. Mugi. Neo and Geo get the plane tickets, but on their way to Hong Kong, there is an announcement on the plane that the Hong Kong airport has been taken over by terrorists. The plane's passengers will have to answer the terrorist questions in order to be allowed to land, otherwise the plane will run out of fuel and crash. The terrorists are kind enough to present the quiz in a Jeopardy-style grid again, on the plane's movie screen.
Over here!
All right, contestant 38.
The screen on the plane was made by the famous electronics brand, Pasonanic?
I know a genuine Panaphonics when I see it. And look, there's Magnetbox and Sorny.
Also, you're not a true videophile if you don't own a TV from Pony. Here's a question from the category Celebrities and Music. What is the name of the monkey that Michael Jackson kept as a pet? A. Balrog, B. Bubbles, C. Bablis, D. Babylon. If you answered Bubbles, you are correct. Here's a question from Movies. Who is the killer in the movie Friday the 13th? A. Jason, B. Boogeyman, C. Freddy, D. Mrs. Voorhees. If you answered A. Jason, then you are wrong. The killer in the first Friday the 13th was Jason's mom, Mrs. Voorhees.
Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was the original killer. Jason didn't show up until the sequel. I'm afraid that was a wrong answer. You tricked me.
So Neo and Geo's plane is able to land, and they go to meet right away with their Hong Kong informant, another suspiciously familiar looking face. We're no longer in Quiz City, but I guess that Hong Kong informants also accept quiz answers as payment. How about this question? What color are taxi license plates in Japan? A. Green. B. White. C. Black. D. Blue. Correct answer? A. Green. The informant tells Neo and Geo where to find the base of the Quiz Mafia. Inside the dark lair, they come upon a robot that asks them questions. They beat him and he tells them that Chris is being held on the 5th floor, but they will have to beat the 2 remaining guards. The next guard is a ninja on the 2nd floor. Ready for another question? When is America's Independence Day? Here's one from sports. How many players are on a soccer team? The correct answer is C, 11. The 3rd floor guard looks like the famous Japanese pro wrestler Antonio Inoki. This time we pick a card which decreases the answer choices to 2 instead of 4. This should make the game a lot easier. Here's a question from literature/history. Who wrote The Tale of Genji? A. Murasaki Shikibu or B. Sei Shonagon? Answer A. Murasaki Shikibu. Neo and Geo make it to the top floor and find Chris laying on the floor before the boss, who says that he is about to kill her. Neo and Geo ask what he wants with Chris, but he won't tell them until they answer his questions. Here's a question from the games category. What country was the creator of Tetris from? A. UK. B. USSR. C. Japan. Or D. USA. The correct answer is the USSR. After beating the boss, he reveals his plot. Chris's father is a famous robot inventor, and he kidnapped her in order to get her father to build a quiz robot so he can rule the quiz world. They ask where Chris's father is, and he shows them right away. Chris's father has been used as the brain for the quiz robot.
Ha ha ha! Bet you never guessed I'd use his brain for my sex robot.
You mean quiz robot?
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, this will be the final boss of this story. Here's a question from the anime category. What was the first Japanese animated TV series? A. Gigantor. B. Astro Boy. C. Space Battleship Yamato. D. Little Ghost Kyutaro. Correct answer? B. Astro Boy. Chris's father is happy to be beaten and put out of his misery. His last request is for Neo and Geo to save his daughter, and the robot explodes. Neo and Geo escape the blast, but the boss presses a button activating bombs that have been set up all over the world. Luckily, the device can be disabled by answering a quiz, but there is only one question. If Neo and Geo get it wrong, the world will be destroyed. In the sport of rowing in Japan, Knuckle 4 refers to a boat rowed by how many people? A. 3. B. 10. C. 4. D. 2. 4 is the answer, obviously. If you get this question wrong, you'll see the bad ending where the world explodes, and the credits roll with the sad music. If you get it right, Neo and Geo are able to return safely home and explain to Chris what happened, but they don't have the heart to tell her that her father was turned into a quiz robot. And the world continues on as if nothing had happened. The credit sequence is made to look as if it's a movie. The second scenario is even crazier than the first, but the sequence of events is a little less interesting, so here's a synopsis. The client is a guy named George, who asks Neo and Geo to help him find the man who killed him, and then promptly disappears into thin air. Neo and Geo don't believe him and think he is playing a joke on them. What do you mean? You just saw him disappear before your eyes. That dude is a ghost. This story takes Neo and Geo into a world filled with ghosts and zombies who look like various celebrities. The zombies turn out to be the result of a failed government weapon, which George had learned about and was killed in order to keep the secret. The mastermind behind the plan turns out to be the president. He intended to create an army of invincible zombies, but dead bodies everywhere started coming back to life and attacking. When you beat the president's quiz, he shows you his true form. Beat him and everything blows up. Neo and Geo get away and everything goes back to normal. The real president is found dead in his bathroom, and Neo and Geo's only regret is that their payment for this whole adventure was way too small. Finally, you have Sugaroku, or board game mode, which actually has a bit of story too. Neo and Geo go after the quiz treasure Nazo, which is said to grant its owner unlimited knowledge. However, some neo-Nazis are also searching for Nazo in order to rule the world. Recognize this story? Yes, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. This mode has an Indiana Jones theme throughout. It starts with Neo and Geo trying to board the neo-Nazi train. In this mode, the two players are in competition with each other. The player who answers a question correctly will move forward the same number of spaces as the number of seconds left on the clock when they answer. Meanwhile, the other player must wait the next question out, but can still prevent the other player from moving forward by answering their question before they can. This gives the player some bonus points and moves the other player back a few spaces. The next question can be answered by either player again. There are also some bombs on the board. These are simply games of chance where you can select either A or B to disable the bomb. Guess the wrong button and you'll be sent back. Hey, that's not fair. This isn't even a quiz anymore. Give me my 100 yen back, you cheap game. After the train, next comes the desert. In this area, there is a guy in a jeep who offers to take you forward on the board if you give him 800 of the gold you've earned through answering questions correctly. This brings you straight to the jungle area. This area has a shop where you can use your gold to purchase items to help you in your journey. Here I purchased a double jump machine that allows you to advance double the number of spaces as usual. This area also has lots of random traps that set you back, like this poisonous snake and a broken bridge. Here there is a voodoo doll that will allow you to either take 2,000 gold from your opponent, A, or make him lose a turn, B. Wow, this sure is a cutthroat game. Next comes the temple section of the game.
What is this place?
It looks like the Temple of Doom.
When you get to the neo-Nazis at the end, they melt and explode. The end boss turns out to be the old man who let you into the temple. He is the guardian of the Nazo, and you need to answer his question in order to obtain it. When you succeed and find the Nazo, you are given the choice to take it or not. Open it and you feel an evil power slowly taking over you. Now the world is mine, all mine, ha 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 ha. Ah, that's it? I was kind of hoping for this. The music in Quiz Daisousasen was composed by some of the usual suspects from SNK's sound team. Toshio Shimizu, credited here as Shimizun, Tate Norio, and I wonder if Mako here is Masahiko Hataya, usually credited as Papaya, but they may have gone with Mako because they were trying to write everyone's names in Japanese. The music in this game is mostly mood-setting themes, as well as tension-inducing tracks for answering questions. The sound is definitely typical SNK. I'd love to tell you that this is a lost Neo Geo soundtrack full of little-known amazing tracks, but I've played the game and spent time capturing the music for this video. I regret to inform you that the music is as throwaway and forgettable as the game itself. The famed SNK composers must have withheld their best work for this one, knowing it wouldn't be remembered as well as in other games. The most noteworthy track in the game by far is the main theme that plays during the first section of Sugaroku mode. That's the only one that sounds like a real game BGM that you'll actually remember after you turn the game off. Honorable mention also goes to the final boss music, as it's almost exciting enough to be on par with the final boss music in other non-quiz games. Everything else is literally just setting a mood, and not very melodic. The main tunes never really get going or go anywhere. This track here is a good example of what most of the music in the game is like. It does a good job conveying the despair of the main characters being arrested, but it doesn't do anything else. It's fine for what it is, but there's no reason you'll ever want to hear it again. This track isn't just for the cutscene, it continues to play while answering questions. Then there's that droning music that plays during many of the questions in both modes. Quiz Daisousasen was not released for the Neo Geo CD. Generally, quiz games don't age well. Some of the questions can become dated rather quickly, and once you know most of the questions, the replayability is low. So it didn't make sense to release a 1991 game again in 1994 for the home market when the Neo Geo CD came out. The only quiz game that did come to the Neo Geo CD system was Quiz King of Fighters, which was released on cartridge and CD both in 1995. Being a new game at the time, and featuring popular SNK characters, it made sense to release that one on CD. Chibi Maruko-chan Deluxe Quiz was also released in 1995, but did not receive a CD release. It's possible that licensing for the Chibi Maruko-chan characters was part of the reason. At any rate, Quiz Daisousasen remains a Japanese cartridge exclusive. This game also got a sequel in 1992, NGH-023 Quiz Meitante Neo and Geo, which we'll be looking at later in this series. A version of the original Quiz Daisousasen was also released for Japanese cell phones in 2006, featuring updated questions. Quiz Daisousasen may not have any English version, but Japanese is not the only language it was available in. The game is one of a handful of Neo Geo games with the distinction of having a separate Korean release. You may have noticed that the NGH numbers skip straight from 098 or 099 to 200. So what happened to the 100s? Those are used by the Korean releases. The Korean version was released much later than the original in 1995 by SNK's Korean partner Vicom, and is titled Quiz Solipdamjang or Quiz Private Detective, The Last Countdown, and it's NGH number 123, actually taking the number after the Korean version of Samurai Showdown 4. Our heroes' names have been changed in this version to Han Biho and Han Bijong. SNK's partnership with Vicom was a means of working around the laws banning Japanese media in South Korea at the time. Parts of the game were changed to avoid running afoul of the law. The Pony TV was changed to read Anom, and the Pasananik TV now reads Golden Star. They even completely changed the character design on this ninja who runs up to you toward the end of one of the story modes. For some reason, they also changed the character design for Chris at the beginning of the game and renamed her Lee Won-hye. They also censored this knife in the prison escape scene, changing it to a wrench. Incidentally, they also changed the SNK lettering seen here on the famous Hong Kong Jumbo Kingdom floating restaurant in the Japanese version to instead read Vic for Vicom. The Korean version follows the same plot as the Japanese version, and you get some updated Korean questions for 1995. For the most part, the question categories mirror the categories available in the Japanese version. The Japanese history and pop culture questions are no longer here, replaced with Korean ones instead. One major addition to the Korean questions is these questions that are preceded by a smiley face. This face icon indicates basically riddles or brain teasers. Instead of asking you actual facts, these questions test your practical thinking skills. Here's an example of one of those odd brain teaser questions you might be asked in the Korean version. What is the main ingredient used most to make fake gasoline? A. Soju. B. Real gasoline. C. Cider. Cider is 7-Up or soda in Korean. Or D. Water. The answer? B. Real gasoline. Okay? Alright, let's do one more. Which city do women who like jewelry love the most? Is it A. Busan, B. Seoul, C. Jinju, D. Gangneung? Are you stumped? The answer is C. Jinju. Jinju means pearl in Korean. So that's Quiz Daisousasen, The Last Countdown. Quiz games were fairly commonplace in Japanese arcades when this game was made. It's easy to see them as sort of a cash grab, and they were probably relatively easy to produce compared to action games. Quiz games weren't well established in Western arcades, so it's not surprising this one didn't get an English mode. However, as quiz games go, this is certainly an interesting one. The stories are at least funny and crazy, if not interesting. The questions are a time capsule from the early 90s in Japan. Maybe it's nostalgia glasses, but perhaps the best thing about playing the game today is the classic early Neo Geo style graphics and sound. At the time, this style was standard for arcades, but now this game serves as a time machine that takes you right back to the early 90s, even if the music only provides the feel of that era without any of the good tunes. Thank you for watching Neo Alex Neo Geo reviews. We're going through every Neo Geo game in order of catalog number, and wow, next time we've got a big one, NGH-024, Last Resort. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to Basement Brothers and ring that notification bell so you don't miss it. Till next time, I'll see you in the comments.